This year, our conference is themed Gas, the Road to Economic Recovery. The theme underscores the critical role gas will play in revitalizing Nigeria's economy, creating jobs and delivering energy solutions that will transform industries, communities, and lives.
I'm the coordinator of Women Network in Nigeria, and in celebration of the International Women's Day 2024, with the theme Inspire Inclusion, we're here in a community in Ijorabadia, and the idea or our objective today is to ensure that more women become inclusive in the clean energy chain. Today, we have interacted with a number of women, and we find that surprisingly, in this demographic, a lot of women have cylinders, but they do not use these cylinders anymore because they say that the price has become prohibitively expensive. So we're here to send a message or pass this message across to all stakeholders, starting from the storages down to the people in the kitchen. We need to work together to understand and identify the bottlenecks that can bring the price lower. Because from what we see, we find that women who have already converted, women who have already started to use LPG, they don't use it anymore because they find out it has become too expensive for them to afford.
Before I dey use gas, but now gas too dear. So we can't stop am, we come dey use firewood. Firewood now, the smoke go enter your nose. When you reach house, your eye to sleep in time, your eye go dey pepper you. Wetin I wan talk, if government go help us, make the gas make e come down.
À ń lo èédú torí gáàsì tí wọ́n agbára wa ò gbé láti máa rà á. Ló jẹ́ apá ti sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ kan báyìí. Àwa náà ra èédú. Èédú là ń lò kì í ṣe ní sí. A ṣe ń rí 8,500 naira sí 14,500, 15,000. Bọ́n ṣe ń tà fún wa nìyẹn, ó ti wọ́n jù. Kọ́jọ́ kan wà sí sí wa o. In celebration of all Nigerian women for the International Women's Day 2024, we're saying all women need to be included in the value chain that brings about equality, that brings about good quality of life, access to clean energy. And we hope that by the time we come back here next year, we would be able to have all women included in our circle.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon once again. They say that a picture tells 1,000 words. I don't know how many words you were able to make out of that video, but it is on that basis that we're starting the conversation. May I also add that happened earlier on in the year. I'd like to believe it was June. And as of today, she said they were buying at, I think, about 14,500. It's about 17,500 today. So we see that the price
this is working. Can you hear it?
Going lower. There are very important nuances in the videos. There are women who are consumers. These women aren't consumers. They are women that use the fuel to cook as part of their businesses. So in one way or the other, they are stakeholders in our value chain. And that's the premise that we want to open this conversation on. What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? And we were very particular constituting this panel. We wanted to make sure that all the perspectives were being covered, whether you were a business owner, whether you're a policymaker, whether you're someone who is an expert when it comes to gender. The underlying message is how do we help women position, whether it's for access to credit, the challenges they're facing, or the opportunities that they might not readily be identifying or seeing from where they are. So on that basis, I would open this discussion and very quickly. Very quickly, I will start with Mrs. Adelite. You saw this coming. Can you just let us have your, is your microphone working?
Uh, I guess so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'd like for you to tell us, give us your opening thoughts. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities for women from your view, your lens, your experience, as it regards the clean energy value
Oh,
chain? We start with LPG as a low hanging fruit. I hope you're able to get my message. My question.
yes, yes, definitely. I think first of all, like all issues around women in business, there is a very large economic cost when it comes to inequality in business, and that lies at over about 12 trillion dollars. Just the gap for women's economic empowerment worldwide. That's globally. And when you look at, of course, the energy sector, we are aware, obviously, that for some of the areas that pertain to clean energy, women are the highest consumers, especially even when you look at rural women. And I am, of course, from the video that I just played, when you look at the rural women, for example, those of them that cook a lot with firewood and the rest, clean energy is critical. And of course, there is that drive now for biogas. Again, the cost, which is the number one challenge for women, including women in business, the cost of anything around gas and energy is very high. And because of these high costs of all the consumables around it, you find out that a lot of women shy away from such opportunities. The second thing, and I wish, well, BOI is here, but I wish we also had one of the commercial banks here, because when it comes to access to finance and access to markets themselves, I think that is another place that poses a very high challenge for women in business. Technical know-how is also critical. A lot of women shy away from anything around oil and gas, where it is seen as a male dominated industry. So obviously, so many people avoid that space. And so at the end of the day, even just, I think in the last panel, one of them was just talking about, one of the panelists was talking about the fact that we need to educate and also be very innovative, because you need to attract women on the opportunities that are in the sector. But having said that, again, there are interventions from different angles, but it's not enough. For example, if you look at the UN Women recently in Nigeria, they have targeted about 3 states in the area of biogas, contributing to the biogas equipment that women need in rural areas. And so they've started with Bauchi, I think about 2 weeks ago, and empowered about 250 women. But when you look at it in line with the population, we know that there's a long way to go. So for me, I would say that even for the gas companies, they have the opportunity through some of their CSR programs to also help to contribute to this type of drive. There are opportunities also in the area of affirmative procurement for obviously private sector organizations as well as the government. One of the panelists in the former panel had talked around the need also for, well, let me just say, I'm paraphrasing now for fairness. We find out that most of the, he was talking about policies. There is one thing to give a policy, is another thing to implement a policy. So affirmative procurement, for example, is a major policy that can help us in this space by ensuring that most of us here, at least 30% of our organizations should employ or ensure that our procurement also goes to women-owned businesses as a way of also driving economic power to women-owned businesses. If you find out for most organizations here, you will find out that most of the vendors are male owned businesses and dominated businesses. You know, the truth of the matter is that if you leave this mic with me, I can speak for almost 1 hour because I'm very passionate about women's economic empowerment, but I will leave it at that and probably talk on a follow-up question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Very quickly, I would ask for your opening remarks, Mrs. Adebola Oroma. You heard the gender desk, and I've always wanted to ask, why did BOI even think that it was important to have that kind of desk open? And then, what are your opening thoughts on the topic, opportunities and challenges for women in business?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. And from Bank of Industry, I want to say congratulations on this year's conference. Opportunities and challenges. Let me first of all say that there will always be challenge in anything you want to do, but it's to look beyond the challenge that you can see, whether it is one or many. So for us in Bank of Industry, we have been able to understand that lending to women is not like other kind of lending. And we have the desk for the gender business established since year 2006. And it is basically to be able to look at the variety of need that women will have. We are in an environment where we are men men focus kind of, and we have so many businesses that are attached to gender line that okay, this is a man's business, and when a woman is entering that terrain, there are a lot of friction. But things have been changing. We have even a lot of women also that might not have enough information, knowledge, capacity that is required to penetrate such business as sector that has been tagged a man's word kind of a thing. We have a lot of our social cultural beliefs that put women at the back seat when it comes to talking. But thanks to all that is happening around us today, we all know that women are now sitting by the side. Women are no more at the back. If any woman is still in this hall that is saying behind a successful man is a woman, then that woman is in the ages of our parents. Now we have women that are by the side to be able to help the men, to be able to learn from the men. So there are a lot of opportunity. We are in an era where gender is being promoted both locally and internationally, and a lot of opportunities are out there. And in the field that you operate, there is no better time to promote going away from women going into the bush, felling our wood with all the issues we are having as climate change. I don't know whether you can be able to say this is rainy season and this is dry season again. I couldn't see that again because a lot is happening now that the seasons are joining together. A lot of issues in our environment, which serves as opportunity for business development, for people to be able to take the advantage of what it is that that can help. You know, what you are doing is providing solution to the climatic issue that we are having, being able to go away from those things that we contribute to hazard to our environment. So for us in Bank of Industry, we know there are issues when women come up that okay, we want to get a loan. There might be collateral issue. There might be even the business being structured. Women we do a lot. We are very very resilient. We are hardworking. But when it comes to business, we multitask. We take the business as part of ourselves and part of our family, and we don't put in the right structure. Very few women put in the right structure and the processes that if banking institution can see and say this is what we need to see for us to be able to invest in your business. So putting the right structure in place, having those records that are critical to be able to access facility might be some of the challenges that we have. But I tell you, for us in Bank of Industry, we continue to look beyond that. And currently, the bank has put in the gender as one of the thematic areas that we want to focus on. And that calls for us to even do things differently. You know, we thought we'd be doing so well, but we found out that we actually need to do so much. And in terms of even looking for a way of doing things that can make the business of a woman to be so clear in benefit to business of a man. So these are part of the things that we are doing. We recently conducted assessment of what we do and key informant information, and we gained a lot through that. And with that, we are trying to modify the way we do our things, trying to put in some of the requests, because we cannot open our door to ourselves. We open our doors to teeming population of people in business that will come. So on gender business desk, we have seen what is it that we need to do, and we are trying to put in place those things that will make the lending to women to be more interesting. But let me say there are a lot of opportunity hanging there. And I know we discussed when I have the women arm of this organization visiting us on a courtesy call. We discussed and we want to do more. Glad to say that we have some of our customer here that are part of this organization. We appreciate them, and they are key customer, not just ordinary customer. Let me say, they are key customer that we can showcase at every event, and we always want them to be there because we see what they are doing. It might not be easy, but I tell you, they are doing so well, and we want to do with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. By show of hands, who are Mrs. I know I'm not going to see any hands up. It's okay. Very quickly, I'll go to Mrs. Owolabi. What are your opening comments on this topic? You sit on a very, very critical part of the value chain because you are closest to the consumers. You interact with them on a daily basis. They complain to you on a daily basis. So, as far as this topic is concerned, what are your opening comments? Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I want to first of all thank NLCGA for making this event, this women-led business event on the first day, because it's not just filling in the spot, but seeing it as a very key and important conversation to be had on the first day when the energy in the room is still very high. Thank you very much for that. And I just want to draw our attention to the video that was displayed. And we could see that the interview was with women, right? And that shows to us that who better should be in this um, sale of LPG if not women, because they are the highest consumers. They can relate with these things, and that was the drive behind us setting up our business and divesting. So prior to this time, I was spent over a decade in the marine oil and gas space, so did a lot of upstream activities, but there was a there was a need and an opportunity to diversify into gas, and it was why we went into the LPG space. Not just because we wanted to be in gas, we wanted to understand the low hanging fruits of gas, which is LPG, and we also wanted to relate with the community where we are positioned in. The opportunities in this business is enormous. And I will start from the part that for us in our organization, we are committed to seeing the penetration of LPG into the rural areas. So we're in a wonderful community in Lagos called Agege. I'm very proud of that community because you can see the number, the growth in the usage of gas over a period of time. And that is to show that there are more communities that need gas plants to be set up. So I'm sure this is not a coincidence that I'm the only entrepreneur sitting here as a female. So I would be very real. And what that means is um, the major challenges for a women-led business like what we do is funding, and that's I know a lot of conferences and panel sessions have talked about that, but I was speaking from a perspective of an entrepreneur where you have a good intention to set up a business and you want to thrive. You also want your business to create an impact in the community, but you're limited to achieving these goals because of funding. So funding has been a major challenge for us, and what have we done in recent times has been trying to upscale our business, trying to partner and seeing strategic partnerships that could help our business to thrive. Because we are more passionate about, yes, we're in business to maximize profit, but there is also the emotional part in our day-to-day runnings. Because I want to go to that local booker to see that that woman is using gas. There was a day I walked into one of the Amala joints, and I saw that she's using gas, and that for me was impressive, you know. So those are the things that sounds like music to our ears when you see that the women in these communities that seem to be seen as forgotten have now been able to transit into the use of LPG, and they are not even going back to using coal pot, the dirty fuels, and all that. So for us, those challenges are there, and the funding has been a major reason why we've not been able to scale to major and more communities to be able to upscale what we're doing. So I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation, BOI will be able to give us some funding to expand our business, and possibly UN will be able to say, you know what, we're going to fund the entire communities that you're looking towards to consider. Thank you. NLCGA is going to get 10% of that transaction. Okay, you took the words right out of my mouth. We have a panelist who is looking for funding, and we have another panelist who says they are a myriad of products that the consumer can take advantage of. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Oruma, I'm sure you expected this to come. What specific products and services are you currently offering, especially for women in LPG? It's very easy because a lot of times we go to conferences, they say, oh, there's 300 billion. Sometimes it's even in dollars. There's $200 million that has been set aside for women. And then when the LPG downstream people go there, they say, no, it's for midstream people. It's not for, this is for upstream and midstream. Downstream people, we didn't have you in mind. A lot of times we get that kind of feedback. So I'm asking specifically for women who are closest to the consumers, women in the LPG value chain. What specific products are available that they can take advantage of?
Okay, thank you very much. We have even though the LPG is not directly manufacturing, but you are along the value chain and you are actively involved to be able to help those that are up there. So what we do is we offer term loan, and the term loan is to be able to get some of the equipment that you will need. Some of those it might be just small equipment, but they are costly kind of. So we give term loan at the rate that is not more than 10% with whatever is happening in the economy now, and it can run for a long term of a tenure between 4 to 5 years, depending on your cash flow, because we don't do anything outside of your cash flow, and that is for equipment purpose. Then sometimes if there is need, it's not really our focus, but if there is need, we offer working capital for you to be able to get some of the input that we need. And as I sit here, we are working on a product that will be like a distributor finance that will help to actually take the chain of women in LPG, that will be able to help us to have something that might even be cheaper than the 10% that I just mentioned, because we said it, the men have gone ahead and we are not fighting with it. All we want to say is give us some space also so that we come near you. So what we are trying to do is to do something that will be more interesting, and their product paper is currently under review. But as we speak now, we can do term loan for you. We can do for the tenure based on what we discussed, because we understand that for a loan to be effective and to be productive, we need you to tell us what you are doing. At the same time, we have some other people that might not be under the LPG. We have the oil and gas table. The oil and gas table deal with generally what is happening along the oil and gas sector's side. But for us, we can do equipment financing, and we can do working capital for women in LPG. Apart from that, also, we do capacity building. These are none, because we understand that apart from the financial intermediation that we are given, we need to do some kind of technical support. And we currently partner with IFC, GOPA, and they are putting up a document that we can use to be able to get women in business together. It might not be only It might not be only LPG that will be, but to get women in business together and train on those things that, because sometimes we find out that loan get bad, not because people don't know, not because they don't want to repay, but because they don't know what to do. And there's some few things that where they drop the ball and they don't get back. So we offer technical support, and we allow, like I said earlier, we give visibility, and where it is needed, because of where we sit as a bank under government, we play some advocacy role that can help. If there is to say, to give a voice to our women, we do that in conjunction with whatever is happening with all the other various MDAs and government parastatals that we relate with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just summarize. She says they give out facilities to aid with equipment acquisition and in some cases, working capital. She also says they offer training services, I think, towards bankability, getting their paperwork together, and technical support to help the people actually thrive, because they found historically that women, even though they have the intention to grow their businesses, they struggle because maybe some skills or tools are not available. So they help in that regard. There's also a paper they're working on to make some of their products more accessible, more affordable. So I think I'll stop right there. I'm an Oliver Twist. I would ask for more, but I will come back to you. So very quickly, let me come to Dami, because Mrs. Oruma, when she was speaking, she said something about there were specific products for women. And a lot of times when you interact with people, they say, I don't really see, there's no real issue. Whether it's a man or a woman, if you bring all the documents, if you bring all the papers, you get what you're asking for. Damilola, you're an entrepreneur. How has it been? Have you faced challenges specifically because you're a woman? And I would like to get that anecdotal perspective.
Thank you very much. So sometime in 2022, if I remember, there was this loan that was an institutional fund that was made public for women in energy, women in oil and gas, and we applied. In terms of documentation, we met all of that, and we got an email from the institution and the commercial bank that was managing it, and they said what they needed was our contract with an IOC, and we explained to them that we do not have any contract with IOCs, that the kind of business we do, we sell gas to the general public and we show them our numbers. We had the proper accounting that was done. They even sent one of the accounting team to our office, and the team for inspection, they visited. So it was more like we were in bed with them. But they said we needed a contract from IOC. Then I recall at one of the conferences where I met with the head of the institution, with the commercial bankers and all that. And I approached them to say, I've not heard from you people, this and that. And they said, oh, they didn't know that for downstream, that they didn't put something, they didn't structure something for downstream, especially LPG trading and retailing. So they think they have to go back to check and see how that would work. Now, we always hear that being a female in a male-dominated industry is already a lot of burden, but it is now double wahala if you're now in the downstream space and you're in the sale of gas, you're dealing in gas. Like, you're not saying, we're not saying we're not here. So they said they were going to go back to restructure and come back to us, but which they never did. But that for me was obvious that there was no deep understanding and knowledge of our business. You know, it's just the institution, BOI and other institutions saying, oh, we have funds for women in energy, for women in oil and gas. But I think there needs to be this structure whereby in the oil and gas space, there are quite a number of things. You have the people in the upstream, midstream, downstream. People in the upstream, you have those that the EPC projects, you have those that are into contracts, and all, you have marine logistics, you have all of those things. So I think proper understanding and structuring of this funding would enable it to get to the right sources. So we didn't get that funding. But what did we do on our part? We kept on pitching our business idea because we knew that we had a great idea. Our books were tidy. In terms of corporate governance, everything was top notch. What we needed to just have was the audience of the right investors. Eventually, we got investors that came on board to see and to check through our numbers and saw that this business was viable enough and they invested in it. So this challenge of funding is long overdue to be solved for women-led businesses because I just heard now that BOI has products. I think at the time we had someone in our office that was always keeping us up to date with BOI products, papers, Nexen Bank, all of those things. You know, when you're looking for funding as an entrepreneur, you're everywhere and you attend all the conferences just to see maybe luck will shine on you to meet with that investor. So we have all of this information, but they are not properly structured to meet the right stakeholders. LPG is a very important part of the oil and gas space. So let's stop looking at gas as just domestic gas. Domestic gas that is used in our homes. And we need to pay attention to supporting women or businesses that are driving this, not just to fill in the slots, but you've seen that they've shown the capacity, they've shown the strength, they understand the technicalities, and they are also putting in the right work and the right effort to achieve it. So I would like to see more institutional funds being structured towards empowering oil and gas businesses in the LPG space. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Danny is saying some of the people who are providing the funds do not even have an understanding of the industry as it is and the different layers. And I'd like to just add in that it's one of the benefits of being part of an association because if any of those institutions were to come to an association like NLCGA, we would be able to guide them to say, no, you need to put this, you need to include this, these are the gray areas, these are the areas that you can do better. So on that note, that's the feedback. Please, for all of you giving us funding, understand our needs, understand our sector, so that when you come out with a product, it is a product that is relatable and functional for what it is supposed to achieve. I'm coming to you, Mrs. Adebite. In your role as the consultant for UN Women in Nigeria, I'd like to ask, what specific products, programs, services do you have for women within our space? A lot of times when we hear the word UN, we know that, okay, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of international, would I say funding, whatever it is that comes into play. We want to hear from you. What is it from your office?
So first of all, let me be very clear that the UN is an international NGO. We are not a private sector lending organization, and so we don't fund businesses. It's very important that I establish that. Secondly, the UN also is primarily focused on advocacy, provision of technical support for issues. So there are focus areas. So, for example, when you look at women economic empowerment, for example, we're looking at climate change, we're looking at issues around affirmative procurement, gender responsive budgeting, ensuring that private sector organizations are budget as well as government, including gender sort of related expenses in their budgets, and are also considerate to ensuring that not just the workforce but also women-owned businesses benefit from their economic power. Of course, the UN also has convening power where we can ensure that all the necessary stakeholders regarding any kind of issue, like now we're even looking at things like the care economy, we're bringing them together and so on and so forth. So in terms of funding businesses directly, it's not within the scope of what the UN does. However, the UN works with quite a lot of networks to drive and amplify issues that are relevant to women that align with both the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the country-focused direction and areas. So I would say that under climate change, for example, I see, of course, LNG and things around clean energy being in focus for the UN. But then it would now be a case of having some discussions with your association to see, to sort of highlight some of the challenges women are having, to have such a discussion with the country representative, and then we can now carve out maybe programs and interventions that can be, yes, specific to whatever you feel will address some of these things. In addition to that, obviously, we partner with private sector organizations to achieve and drive some of these kinds of interventions. And so, if a UN now is sort of involved with, stakeholder engagement, then we can now sort of look at where we can all have the stakeholders that we need in the room, as well as now sort of establish what type of interventions are relevant. So I would recommend strongly that the association and maybe the women arm of the association maybe finds out some of these key challenges, and then we find ways around stakeholder engagement on how we can address some of these things together. It's collaborative and a partnership kind of approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She said it all. That will be all the questions we'll be taking on the panel session. If there are any questions from the audience, we'll take them very quickly. We're running out of time and ready for the next panel session.
Right, any questions? If you have any questions, please just signify by raising your hand. We'll get the mic to you. As usual, state your name, where you work, or what you do, and move straight to ask your question. Thank you. All right, come on.
Thank you very much. I'm Mrs. Olubeson. And my question is, it's more like a comment. I know UI takes women and help them with the baby steps. That I can assure you, they really hold your hand and take you. But I want them to do more, because what they're asking for, when they ask for collateral, how many women has this collateral to give? Very, very few women. I think they should work around that to see how they can further help women by lowering their standard. They are, but they should still lower their standard so that more women will be accommodated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Any other questions? Please just signify by raising your hand. Any other questions? Okay, it appears that there are no takers.
Okay, thank you, Mommy. That is part of what we have taken note of from our own survey that we just concluded, and we are currently working on that also. We are working with African Guarantee Fund to be able to get a way of de-risking lending to women, so that by the time we are giving facility to women, we can be able to have like a cover for 50% of that, which you will not need to bother about. Then they will take care of that while you are looking for just a cover, because we quite understand that collateral is a challenge for women, and because of even the structure that we have of women ownership of property and all the rest. So we are working on that. And also we have a WE strategy, Women Economic Empowerment Strategy, that we've just developed, which will also give some advantage to be able to have some reduction in, not reduction in quality, but reduction in requirement in line with each business, because you and I know that this money have to go and come back for us to be able to be sustainable. We are not going to make it like a free good, but it's going to be something that is that will be easily accessible. And with all the partnership that we have, like UN Women, we partner with them on a lot of things, and we have a lot of organizations that we partner with, because we know that alone we cannot do it, and this partnership will help us to be able to deliver well to you also. Thank you.
A round of applause. I would ask for my round of applause. A round of applause. I will tell the partner. It's been a very engaging session. There are two takeaways. We cannot over collaborate, and I see opportunities for collaboration, not just with NLPG, but NLCGA, the broader association, where we can work together to achieve certain outcomes. I'd like to say a very big thank you to our panelists for taking out time, for sharing their perspectives, contributing to the conversation, and hopefully we'll see you next year, same time. Thank you very much.
Distinguished delegates, and that marks the end of the third panel session. I'd like to crave your indulgence. Yes, please just bunch up for a good photograph. Let's have the seminars right about now. Paparazzi, that is your cue. Thank you very much. Once they have their souvenirs, they will pose for photographs with the souvenirs. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the third panel session, opportunities and challenges for women-led businesses. And yes, we've listened to our panelists share from their wealth of personal and professional experience. Yes, it's been very, very thought-provoking and insightful. Thank you very much for those insights. Thank you for speaking from those viewpoints and perspectives. It has been an enriching conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in that session. Final round of applause for the panelists as they go back to their seats. Thank you very much, ma'ams. Thank you very much.